What is up, boys? Welcome back to the channel. I am so happy to finally be able to say Classic Plus is coming to live servers. It is something that has been running as an imagination in the community for years, and it's finally coming to light. We're going to talk about all the stuff inside of Classic Plus, or in this case, Classic Season of Discovery, kind of what you see on your screen here. We're going to talk about each intricacy, kind of what that means for World of Warcraft. I'm just happy to be able to bring you this news. I'm happy to be able to jump in the world of Azeroth again and play with you guys. The first thing that we're going to be talking about today is a newly added feature called Discoveries in Classic Plus. I'm just going to keep calling it that. You can't stop me. So Discoveries are essentially like these extra hidden quests, these extra adventures that you kind of go on. And I think this is actually an ingenious way to start building on some of the older stories as they progress further into Classic Plus and what they plan to do with it. This adds like a niche like outlet and a reason to actually go out and finish some of these quest lines. From these discoveries, you can get cool hidden secrets. You can get some of the other mechanics we're going to be talking about in this, like rune engraving. And honestly, overall, this is just a great addition. So what do I think of this? Basically, I think that we're going to end up downloading an add-on, or most people will, that will drop little pins all over your map of where these are at. But overall, it does add more to the story. It adds more exploration into the world of Azeroth, and I think overall it is a net positive on how we should go about obtaining all of these different powers, maybe different treasures, things like that, loot gear that can, tide you over and help your leveling experience, a little bit better, right? The next thing we're going to be talking about is their level banded content phase approach that they're taking with this. So a lot of my friends don't play World of Warcraft as much as me, and they always say, man, it's too late to join, it's too late to jump in, everybody's already max level. These are the kinds of things that people say. So what level banded phases does is basically like hamster feeding you. It's drip feeding you content at a quick pace, but also to a point where everybody can feel like they can jump in at the right time. So this is a great idea in my opinion. Level 25 cap to begin with. This will increase over time. This is actually what confirmed Classic Plus to me. At first, and when I first heard it, I was like, I don't know, level 25, what are we going to do with that? But as they said, it's going to increase over time. That switched to basically me understanding that this is going to be an experimental thing, and this gives them the ability to experiment with things very quickly, okay? So another thing they're going to be doing is XP boosts for people that missed out on the content, and basically gives you the ability to catch up. So for example, they raised the level cap to 50 and the previous level cap was 25. 1 through 25 will be faster to level up in, so that way people feel like they aren't getting left behind. People can catch up to the current content and play with everybody else. So that's the idea behind level banded content phases. Now with this change, part of me likes this, part of me doesn't like this. So the part of me that doesn't like this is just involved in no-lifing, wants to get to 60 as fast as possible and be a absolute content vampire sucking it up from the depths of the earth. But because this is new, this is a new change. Classic Plus is in an experimental phase. I think this is probably for the best. If I had to choose, I would agree with banding at this point in time. The next thing we're going to be talking about is what do we do when we hit the max level cap of level 25? So what is the end game and season of discoveries at this point in time? So through this whole presentation, they've said they want to keep a familiar setting, familiar characters, and also familiar play styles, which is exactly the type of feedback that the entire community gives when they talk about Classic Plus. They want to keep it familiar in some way. So something they did state is that they are going to have some new mechanics to different bosses, new mechanics for some bosses, and I personally hope they keep them semi-simple, nothing too extravagant. This isn't retail WoW, right? Just very kind of like bare bones fun mechanics. You can add swimming mechanics or like speed boosts or something like that, just to make the fights a little bit more fresh and a little bit more fun, but nothing too extra, right? Make the mechanics basically approachable, make them doable for the mass population, and most importantly, make the mechanics visible. And I think further proof that they're trying to stick by their word and keep things familiar is that the first new raid, the first new content actually added to the game, is a Black Fathoms Deep raid. It is a 10-man raid, so this is obviously the first 10-man raid in a classic experience. Personally, I'm a fan of 10-man raids. Some people are not. I like 40-man raids. They're a pain in the butt to get together, but they are epic to play. But I am a Wrath baby. I started playing WoW in Wrath of the Lich King, so 10-mans is something I'm very used to, something I enjoy quite a bit, and actually do miss a lot of the times. I think this is just a further testament to them being able to actually build upon old content. Could you imagine a Scarlet Crusade raid, for example, 10-man style, similar to like this, if they just updated it, added a couple new mechanics, maybe a new different boss in there, and then built upon that story, further extending it as we level up? These are the things I think about, and I think they're taking good avenues to start building the tree off of. These are good foundational type activities to do to get to where we want to be, right? And for the PvP players out there, they are adding a new event. Honestly, it's most similar to Alterac Valley reskinned, if I'm going to be completely honest. It's essentially going to be an open world battle where you go and kill the enemy boss, try to help out your bases, things like that. Very similar to Alterac Valley, except this will take place in Ashenvale. This is going to be one of the only places you'll be able to have a mount, however. You will be able to get a mount at level 25, usable in Ashenvale. That allows you to go 50% faster than walking speed. So that's a cool little addition. The next thing we're going to be talking about is the Rune engraving. We're going to spend a little bit of time on this one because as I think about it more, the more I get excited about it. It is a very interesting and cool feature. It basically spices up gameplay with new and differing class abilities that you really wouldn't expect in Classic, or maybe thought were missing, or it was just like something that was needed, right? This kind of reminds me of like legendary aspects in Diablo 4 that add or offer some additional ability or boost an already known ability. So giving a paladin a taunt, for example, or giving a shaman the ability to tank, or a rogue the ability to tank, or even a mage the ability to heal. So it adds a lot of different variety. What you see on your screen is a list of different runes on this person, and you can collect these through those discoveries I was talking about and throughout the world, and I'm sure they're going to add some inside the raid that you can get as rewards. And these are not tied to the talent tree at all, so you can change these at will and mix and match them depending on, like, no matter what spec you are or what you're going down. So this is a very cool addition. It kind of reminds me of like glyphs on crack, basically. Very cool change. Over 100+ runes for every single class. The runes are permanent after being learned. You cannot consume these, and you can change them at will, like I said. Now, this does add some flair to the classes in a very cool way, and I can honestly see some vanilla purists out there getting upset at this, but like I said, Classic, regular vanilla is still out there. You can still play it. It's still a great game. This is just a creative way to mix up the gameplay and add something additional, right? So with that being said, I really think runes are a creative way to solve the problem of making classes balanced. Everybody knows warrior is OP in late game and vanilla WoW. So this will bring other classes up to speed. Druid healers will be, a lot better because they'll have things like wild growth, right? And priests could possibly go into like a holy damage spec for all we know, since we have the addition of penance. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but with all these different changes, who's to say what classes turn into? Things become a lot more experimental and a lot more creative when you add options like this in the game. And you can pick runes for like your chest, legs, gauntlets, and who knows however many different slots you can actually choose a glyph for to update and change your abilities. Another great thing is talent respecs will be a lot cheaper, which is definitely a positive change for Classic, especially if you're tight on gold. And there's a possible tease at multi-talent trees, so you can respec at will, similar to what we have now in retail where you can change specs. I think that's an undeniably fun thing to be able to do, to go from tank to healer or damage to tank or whatever the case is, right? People like to have those options disposable to them at all times, and especially with the leveling speed in Classic, that just adds, an extra thing of utility that the character didn't have previously. The next thing we're going to be talking about is their class design goals and theory behind seasonal changes. So they keep reiterating throughout the entire presentation that they are trying to keep things familiar. And I think we can all universally agree that that is a very good thing, and that is exactly what we want to hear when we're talking about Classic Plus. So here seems to be the thinking of Blizzard, right? They have D4, Diablo 4. It's a massive success. I know they've had some issues with the tuning and whatever, right? That's another video. And then you have retail WoW, and everything is kind of moving towards this seasonal type gameplay where they release content in shorter bursts, but much faster, right? So we have 3 expansions in retail WoW. You know, D4 has another expansion already announced after its 2nd season. So you can tell it's going towards a seasonal format. So it just makes sense logically that they would apply this same thing to Classic Plus. Now, in the spectrum of Classic WoW, I think and have 2 opinions on it, right? So the first one is I like it. I like it because we are in an experimental phase with Classic Plus, and it gives us the ability to try a lot of different things really fast, right? So with a seasonal type format, we have more content and we have it much faster. So if the rune engraving, for example, does not work out for us, we can always scrap the idea. It consistently keeps the game fresh, so that's a very positive connotation towards seasons. On the downside, I really wish there was some permanence to the experience, because this is an MMO after all. I like to have a maxed out character. I like to be ready to just carry people at a moment's notice with my big giant meaty character. Plus, it's like kind of like having a degree or a trophy just sitting on a mantle. It just feels good to have and have something like an achievement, right? Just always ready to go. So those are my impressions of it. Overall, I think this is a good thing. Like I said, very experimental stuff we're dealing with here. Very excited for this change and very excited to see the progression of Classic Plus after launch. The last thing we'll be talking about is the PvE topic. So they did divulge in this a little bit in the presentation. Basically, they do have a focus on the community aspects and playing togetherness of the game, which is, once again, exactly what we want to hear when it comes to Classic Plus. So we will have these things in the different seasons and phases called level up raids. The first one, as talked about briefly before, is the Black Fathoms Deep 10-man raid. This will be our first level up raid. It is intermission content till the next season. So this is kind of like our pinnacle achievement for when we hit level 25. This will be like the best gear, and it'll actually set us up to level up smoothly in the next season. So I'm very much looking forward to this. The raid is a 10-man raid. There is a 3-day lockout, 7 bosses with new mechanics, edited mechanics, probably some familiar mechanics tossed in there as well. And they also offer secrets inside the raid. So this kind of reminds me of like the discoveries and the rune engraving. You're going to be able to find additional treasures, additional abilities inside the raid to get some of the best content. You'll have to do the raid. And the way it looks from all the video I've seen so far, it looks like a for fun raid. It looks like a easy time or easy enough to do with a group of 10 people to get the stuff done. There is a secret world buff to also discover and many other secrets that people will be looking for. I think for what they achieved here, the PvE content is quite enough to keep us sated. We're going to have to keep a lookout to see when the next content update is, because I can see this getting old relatively quickly. We're going to be able to experiment with abilities and things like that, but as far as the actual end game grind, things like that could run out of things to do sooner rather than later. I think it's a great start, and I'm looking forward to the future of the PvE content. So my overall thoughts of Classic Plus Season of Discovery for World of Warcraft is probably the same opinion many of you share. It is looking dummy thick this time of year. She's got a fat ass, and I'm ready to dive in. November 30th, I think Classic Plus is something everybody was looking forward to for many years to come, and we finally get a taste of it. It may not be exactly what you envisioned for Classic Plus, but once again, everybody had a different envisionment of what Classic Plus was, and I think a lot of people, this will make them happy. This adds a new twist on a classic experience, and they keep reciting how they're trying to stick to a familiar, very simple experience closest to the original, and I think that's the best we can ask for. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and as always, I appreciate you.